Live from the Ken and Valerie Baker studio at WHYY, this is Studio 2.
On Thursday, May 14th, welcome, friends, on into the program. I'm Cherry Gregg.
I'm Avi Wolfman-Arendt.
And you heard on this show, the inflation numbers came out this week. It's not good. But if you're like me, you've probably already been feeling the squeeze at the grocery store, at the gas pump. The utility bills went up, okay? I mean, some of the toiletries you probably usually buy, they feel like luxury items. So you probably came up with some hacks, right? Some ways to save a few dollars. Some are smart. Some may be creative. Others may be a little extreme. But we're creating a safe space today.
I like a safe space. Good safe space.
For you to share your saving hacks. Ways that
like
you save money.
Space, really.
Yeah, safe space where you save money, things that you've stopped doing or stopped spending your money on in light of how things have shifted, the ways you are budgeting. We have two very smart people with us today, Washington Post columnist Michelle Singletary and UPenn professor Wendy de la Rosa. And we'll be talking about budgeting, methods to keep the coin, how you shift your mindset, get everybody in your household on board. And of course, we want to hear from you. What are you doing to save money? Share your favorite budget hacks. And if you have a story about the craziest thing you've done to save a buck, I'd love to hear it. The number to call is 888-477-9499. The email is studio2@whyy.org. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can put your comments in the chat. And I'm sure we're going to hear some good stories today.
Eugene has already chimed in and says he's cutting down on name brands, especially clothes. More going to Ross, Old Navy, and Burlington because they are affordable.
Yeah. How about thrifting? You found some good stuff at the thrift store.
Absolutely.
Man.
I'm a thrift store fan.
Yeah, I am. I am too. And by the way, it's Thursday.
Which means?
DJ of the day.
Correct. We will end the week as we always do with a song picked by one of you on the topic of that day's show. So a song about money, a song about frugality, I guess.
Yeah.
Or however you interpret the theme.
Saving.
EP Kevin will pick one of you to be the DJ of the day, and we'll shout you out at the end of the show. Email your song suggestions to studio2@whyy.org before 12:30.
Yeah, and I think this could be a really great caller-driven show.
Yeah.
So I want to hear some of those hacks.
You might say it's a rich topic.
Ooh.
Anyways, on to our trio of local news stories. Is Dr. Ayla Stanford's campaign for the 3rd congressional seat here in Philadelphia on life support? Well, there are some troubling signs. The Inquirer reports that the PAC that spent millions to fund Stanford's campaign has pulled support for television advertising here in the stretch run. You know, the primary is coming up next week. Moreover, and this is maybe more important, the Inquirer says the PAC made this move because internal polling from the PAC suggests Stanford has faded in recent weeks. That internal poll and another from the local Democratic Party suggests Rep. Chris Rabb is in the lead. Senator Stanford may be second or so. Senator Sharif Street third. If indeed Stanford is fading, there are a lot of potential causes here, but there's been a ton of focus on her position on Israel. In an interview earlier in the campaign, she compared using the word genocide to describe Israel's attacks on Gaza to using the N-word. Then after that came a flood of insinuations from Rabb and other progressives that Stanford was funded by the pro-Israel lobbying group AIPAC. She has denied this. And in fact, this week, even AIPAC itself came out and denied this flatly. But I do think that perception has lingered nonetheless. And there have been other perceived missteps from Stanford. This is clearly not a great sign for her campaign.
No, but look, it became clear that Dr. Stanford had been targeted for attack. She became the foil in the race in a lot of ways because she was so well funded, had name recognition from her work during the pandemic, and she was just a newbie to politics. But what also is becoming clear is that she did not probably respond as effectively as she could have in response to the allegations around AIPAC money. And what is the saying? A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes. And so it's hard to sort of put, misrepresentations back into the bottle. But I would say this. I mean, we still have days. People, election day is May 19th for the primary. Don't count her out.
And low turnout races are very unpredictable.
Yes. And she, I wouldn't say count her out. She still has her own money to run ads, and people still are making up their minds. I mean, we don't know what the outcome will be. I don't know who's involved with the polls that we're taking, so we just don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, by the way, there's like no public polling on this race.
No, absolutely
So
not.
everything is sources talking about internal polls, which is, there's shades of gray and all of that. But yeah, the AIPAC thing became very sticky. Like we said this week, AIPAC came out and denied it, which is a pretty unusual thing to do.
Yes, very unusual. And you wonder why they felt like or who pushed them
why they felt
to come
obligated
out.
to do
They
that.
felt like they had to say this.
Yeah, but
So,
she's been saying it all along.
She has been. And I mean, I've been monitoring all the candidates' social media, and she's speaking out against this. She's blowing back against Representative Rabb, who sort of pushed that narrative. And so we'll see if that fight back that pushback will be effective.
And there were other missteps. We should point that out too. So it's not all this, but this was one that just came to a head this week. Story number 2, Cherry.
Yeah. As you know, Philadelphia is the 6th largest city in America. Yes. Avi's holding up 5 fingers plus a thumb. But not by much, okay? San Antonio, Texas is nipping at our heels, people. Nip, nip. According to the Philadelphia Inquirer, census estimates from July of last year indicate that Philly, which has about 1,574,000 residents, has just 26,000 more people than San Antonio now. But some are crying foul play by San Antonio.
Me, I'm crying foul.
Yeah, because
they're a bunch of cheaters.
Yeah, because back in 2020, Philly had about 160,000 plus more residents than that Texas city until they changed their boundaries. And in 2020, they changed it again in 2025. And they've sort of expanded the square footage of that city, thereby adding residents, which allows them to now get closer to us in the line and start nipping at our heels. And people are probably like, what? Philadelphia has had its 134-mile radius for 150 years. But apparently in southern cities, they do this thing called annexation, where every so often they'll expand the boundaries of their cities, which has caused their population to kind of grow. They've had other reasons for population growth,
sure.
but this helps a little bit. Yeah. And, Northeast cities, they're older. They typically are pretty stable in their boundaries. And so all of us are putting our fingers thumping on the chin like,
Thumping on the chin
like, San Antonio, what you doing down there?
So do we have to start annexing now?
Maybe we need
Tit for tat?
We need to talk to some of our surrounding counties and say, hey, y'all want to join Philly?
Ben Salem, nice casino you got there. It would be a shame if someone annexed it.
No, add it to Philly.
Cheltenham, I know you guys have some nice historic mansions. Let's talk.
Let's grow the city.
Lower Marion. Let me get a little bit of that main line, baby. Well, you know what? Whatever. San Antonio, if this is the way you got to win, this is the way you got to win. By the way, this is the way that Phoenix passed us to get to 5th. So if this is what you got to do to make yourself feel better, go ahead. Everyone in America knows where the real cities are. And they know y'all ain't one of them.
I know that's right.
Story number 3. A former South Jersey basketball star and number 2 overall pick in the NBA draft has found a new passion in life, advocating for those who stutter. Really nice story here from NJ.com. Michael Kidd Gilchrist was born in Philly, grew up in Camden County. When he was just 2, his father was murdered. That case still unsolved, but he persevered through all of that, became a collegiate champion at the University of Kentucky, played 8 seasons in the NBA. He also, amid all this, stutters. He's a stutterer, and he now works across the country advocating for laws to help people with speech impediments. He's been involved in passing 4 bills in 4 different states to expand insurance coverage for speech therapy, including a bill right here in Pennsylvania, which I was not even aware of. And right now, Kidd Gilchrist is lobbying Congress to pass a law that would require stuttering and speech fluency screenings for children ages 2 through 6 and would guarantee speech therapy services for stuttering are covered under Medicaid and CHIP.
Yeah, I love it when people get a platform and they use it as an opportunity to become the person they needed, right? To bring the services to the person that they used to be. And that's what he's doing here. I had no idea that 70 to 80 million people around the world have a communication disorder.
Yeah.
And they do. And so this could help a lot of people if he's able, and he's doing a lot of great work. And you mentioned NJ.com. This was such a great story for him to go from a person who didn't want anyone to know that he had this stutter to now going down to Capitol Hill, sharing this story and being so open about it.
Yeah, salute to him.
Yeah, salute him for that work.
Yeah, and look, so many people get judged, get maligned because of a speech impediment, and it causes a lot of people to retreat into the shadows. And it's nice to see someone who that seemed like that happened to him early in his life say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to advocate for people. And it seems like he's having a lot of success. So, we encourage you to check out that story, and we salute him, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, for all his great work. Transitioning now to our main topic today, budget hacks. We want to know how you're saving money during these times. Give us a call, 888-477-9499.
And welcome back to Studio 2 here on WHYY. I'm Cherry Gregg.
I'm Avi Wolfman-Arent. Inflation is the talk of the week. New numbers show consumer prices up 3.8% compared to last April. Gas, food, and electricity costs have all increased. And for the first time in 3 years, Americans' wages are no longer outpacing inflation.
Yeah, we've heard from listeners for several months that they're feeling the pain at the pump and noticing their grocery bills inflating. And we are right here with you, okay? So today, instead of, again, digging into why prices are so high right now, we're turning to practical solutions to save all of us some cold hard cash.
Joining us in our Philadelphia studio is Wendy de la Rosa. She is an assistant professor of marketing at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. Wendy, it's always great to see you. Welcome back to Studio 2.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yes, and joining us via Zoom is Washington Post columnist Michelle Singletary, who writes the nationally syndicated personal finance column, The Color of Money. Michelle, great to have you back as well.
Oh, thank you for having me back.
And for our listeners, if you have questions about how to get your budget in shape, give us a call. If you have some word of wisdom to share, we'd love to hear from you as well. What are your budget hacks? If you have a story about how you saved money in the past or are saving money right now, we'd love to hear it. Give us a call, 888-477-9499. Our email is studio2@whyy.org. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, drop a comment in the live chat.
And so, Michelle, wanted to start with you and sort of level set, because I know you've covered personal finance for years. And in this moment, we're feeling the inflation. We're hit in so many different things: gas prices, electric prices, groceries. And so, is this a been here before moment, or does this moment feel different somehow?
No, it's definitely been there, done that, tired of it. For real. I mean, it's been like that since the pandemic. We've had times where it's gotten a little bit better. It looked like we were going to be out of the woods, and here we are right back in the forest, and the trees are falling for many families, particularly those people who are in areas where they've got to drive to their job. Or take their kids to school. I mean, I know I've been clutching. I don't have no pearls because they cost a lot of money. But if I had some pearls, I would be clutching them when I go put gas in my car. And I've been making the decision, like a lot of people, not driving as much, making sure when my husband and I are going to the same place, we try to, commute together. So it's rough for a lot of families right now.
Valentine agrees with you, by the way, and says, gasoline. I only leave the house for work. No more nights out or events. That's Valentine's budget hack. We'd love to hear yours. 888-477-9499. Before we get into specifics, Wendy, I just want to get us into like a household budgeting mindset. Like, what are some principles for household budgeting that you like to remind folks of, and how do you do it in a way that you're going to stick to it?
That's such a great question. And I also want to highlight the fact that Philly is in this unique moment. So we mentioned that inflation is 3.8%, but inflation in Philadelphia over the last 12 months is 4.8%.
That's higher, yeah.
Yeah, so we're up 1 percentage point higher. Gas prices, as Michelle was talking about, in Philly have increased by over 30%. And so, like, obviously the whole country is feeling it, but I want to make sure that our listeners know that if you feel it a little bit more uniquely in Philadelphia, because our electricity prices have been going up by almost 20% over the last 12 months, it's understandable. Now, budgeting is something that no one likes to do. Like, it doesn't feel good. It's not a conversation that we get up and start thinking about. But I want us to, one of the ways in which we found helps people feel just a little bit better is to remember the why you're doing it, right? The why is because maybe you want to set up your family for success, because you're saving for your future self. Like, write the why over and over again. And the second piece is go in this with a buddy. Right?
Don't go alone.
Don't go alone. It is always hard to feel like you're the only one in the group to saying, I can't go out tonight, or I'm the naysayer, right? The more that you start talking about your financial situation with your friends, researchers found that it reduces financial anxiety, because we can do what we're doing now, which is sharing tips and tricks, which is not to feel so alone, which is also not to internalize all of the personal financial decisions that we're making, so that we don't feel like this is only happening to me. No, it's happening to everybody, and we need to get through this together.
Yeah, we're going to take control. We're taking the budget by the horns. And by the way,
the budget bowl.
Oh, here we go, the BB.
So by the way, if you have your money saving hacks, you can give us a call, 888-477-9499. The email is studio2@whyy.org. We're going to bring some callers in. We have Anna from Greenville on the line. Anna, you're on Studio 2. What's your budget saving hack?
Yes, hi. Well, I love to bake. So whenever I make extra bread or pies or cakes, I swap with my one friend who has a chicken, swap for eggs. And I have another neighbor, actually a couple streets away, who has a vegetable garden. So I save on groceries that way.
All right.
And can we get some baked goods, Anna?
Sure, just let me know what you like.
Anna's like,
I like it all.
We love it all.
You gotta contribute to the bartering
Yeah, sure,
system. Where are your eggs?
I gotta barter. I have
What
nothing.
you bringing to the table?
The problem is I
Audrey
have
Wolfman
nothing
Arons?
to offer. I have some kale plants that are just starting to, get a little strength. So maybe in a few months I could give you some kale.
He'll give you some twigs over there. He'll give you some twigs. And
I got bricks, man. I live in South Philly. I got bricks. You want bricks? I got bricks.
And so, okay, so we getting a mindset, bring people into it. So, so Michelle, where do you start? People might have gotten a little rusty on budgeting, and you got to get kind of like the whole household, on board, because it can't just be one person in the house. Mama saying it's time to cut back. You got to get the kids, you got to get dad, you got to get everybody on board. So how do you sort of start setting in the rules and like being more strict about it?
Yeah, budgeting is definitely a family affair if you're in a household with, and you're not single and just by yourself. But even if you're single, I think Wendy made the point that, you'd find a budget buddy. I run a financial program at my church, and at the beginning of the year, we've had almost 300 people come on to try to figure out how to handle their finances. And we meet once a month. On a Saturday, we do Zoom, and I teach a class. And so we have been connecting people to, we call them money mentors or senior partners, accountability partners, to help walk along. So if you're in your household, definitely get everybody aboard. But I think you start with a conversation. You sit everybody down and say, hey, listen, times are a little tough, or even if it's not tough, we just want to pull back so that we have a cushion in case something happens in this household. And then you just have to stick with it. You have to, if you set that rule that you're not going to be eating out, then you have to stick to that. So, if you got kids in sports, pack stuff, have stuff in the car. I had like a little refrigerator kind of stuff in my car. I mean, my kids were like, can we go? Nope. I got a bag right here. Here's some Cheerios. Here's some crackers. I was ready for them and you have to be prepared, because in those moments when you're hungry, the kids are like, give me some food, or you're just tired, you will opt into spending more money that you really can't afford. So have conversations in the family, plan, but have them buy into why. And I think that's what Wendy said, there's a why behind budgeting. So if you are trying to save to send your kids to college, or you're trying to save to pay off debt, or maybe you want to pay off your mortgage before you retire, which my husband and I did. Before he retired, we paid off our mortgage. Those are the whys, and that helps keep you on track. I always tell people, get an index card, get out a sheet of paper, whatever, that mail that comes in that you don't want all that marketing stuff right on the back of that envelope. Keep it next to you. So anytime you're tempted to spend, you look at your financial goals and let that be your guidepost to keep, saving and cutting back, especially at times like this.
Yeah. Some good comments coming in on YouTube. Clay on YouTube says, cancel all your streaming services and use the library for DVDs and games. Interesting suggestion. Lookabear agrees. Library all the way. Also, a lot of municipalities have free events. You should check out their websites.
Yeah,
local government, great resource. Liz from Philly is on the line and has some advice to share. Hey, Liz, you're on Studio 2. What's your budgeting hack?
Hi. I have two of them to share. One is gardening, and I'm very lucky to have a very nice vegetable garden, and I actually keep track of how much money I save by gardening. So I have vegetables, and I also I live in Roxborough, believe it or not, in Philly, but I'm able to grow vegetables and fruit. So I planted some fruit trees. So I save about $2,000 a year on food.
Wow.
By growing my own.
How big is this garden, Liz?
This sounds industrial.
I have to say, because it's all organic, and usually organic food costs a little more, so it adds up pretty quickly.
Yeah,
for
sure. This
Liz
sounds like
from
almost
Philly.
like a farm.
I need to go over there. I know. This is like, she got rows and
got
rows.
Liz Acres up there in Roxborough.
The
So go ahead, Wendy. You wanted to chime
I was going to say, Liz, I think you're really onto something, because when we look at grocery prices, the two line items that have gone up the most outside of dairy are fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. They've gone up by over 5% over the last 12 months. And so I am kudos to you for taking these like two large line items in our grocery bills and sort of creating this amazing hack. I want to touch on something that Michelle said that I think is so important, which is the psychology of how to stick to a budget.
Yeah.
Yes.
So oftentimes we tend to think about our budgets as, I can only spend $80 on eating out, or I can only, spend $300 on grocery bills this month, and I'm going to cut that back to $280. Reducing magnitudes is so much harder psychologically than reducing frequency. Mm-hmm. Because when we're at the store, when we're at a restaurant, all of the contextual factors, all of the temptation is right in front of you. Mm-hmm. And so if you tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to go to this restaurant, but I'm only going to spend $60, Well, everything in that restaurant is optimized to try to upsell you,
Right.
The dessert is going to look so appealing. The drinks are going to look so appealing. You want to share appetizers. And so when we look at what's more likely to help people stick to their budgets, it's all about the frequency budgeting.
So, for example, if you say we're only eating out once a week
We're
or
only-
every other week.
Exactly. We're only eating out once a week. Or if you have a rule to yourself to say, if I go out, I never order drinks. Or if I go out,
Right.
I never order
Right.
dessert. Or I am only going to drive 3 times a week.
That's easier to do.
That's easier to do, is easier to stick to. We can mentally take account of the frequencies much more easily than we can take account of magnitudes. Like our brains are just, it takes a little bit more mental effort
Yes.
to keep track of magnitudes
Yeah.
and frequencies.
And Stan says, I cut down on eating out. Stan is right with you. Let's bring in another caller. We have Ann from Media on the line. Ann, you are on Studio 2. What's your money-saving hack? Hi, Ann. I don't hear Ann on the line.
Hello?
Oh,
Hey,
hi,
there she
Ann.
is.
There you are. Ann,
Hi.
what's your money-saving hack?
To use a clothesline instead of your dryer.
Oh, dang.
All right. That's old
Yes.
school right there. Ann from Media
Yes,
said
it
close on.
is.
That's right. That's right. Interesting. So let's talk about another thing that I wanted to get into is like budget hacks that are not really budget hacks. People think they're
Yeah.
budget hacking, but really they're either not saving money, spinning their wheels, wasting their time, or maybe even costing themselves more. Do you think there are things that people commonly do, Michelle, that really just are not the juice is just not worth the squeeze?
I think there are a lot of people who think coupons always save you money, that sales always save you money, or those big box stores are saving you money. It can, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. Like take coupons. Oftentimes you have to buy multiples of something to get that discount. So if you only need one dishwashing liquid container, you might have to buy 2 to get that 50 cents off.
Yeah.
Well, if you only intend to buy that one, then you are not saving. You never save when you spend. You might spend less, but you're not actively saving. The big box stores, and I'm not gonna call no names, but you know who they are. Like I have my husband, there's a rule in our family, you cannot go without me, because he come out there, I'm like, what did you buy? Dude, like we need 100 rolls of toilet paper.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
5-gallon
and definitely
tub of
not
olives.
3-ply. Right. And so, and the psychology of saving, these companies get you in there with the coupons and things like that. Like, you have that you buy 10 and you get $10 and you think you have to buy 10 because that's how they phrase it. But each one only costs $1. So if
Right.
you only need 2, only get 2. And so you have to, there is a constant combat with you to try to take more of your money. I get it. They trying to make money, but you really have to watch that. We rarely go to the big box stores. You don't need no 10-gallon jar of mayonnaise. You're not going to eat that many sandwiches. And then oftentimes when you have big things in your house, big rolls, it goes to waste because people see that you have a lot in your household, and so they'll just pull more off.
they
And
use
so
more.
one of my
Yep.
strategies is, one of my saving hacks is that any liquid that I have or anything like dishwashing liquid, I will only fill it to half. And so when anybody comes in the kitchen, they go, "Oh, we almost out," and so they use a little
They
bit
squirt.
instead of a whole lot.
Yeah. I love
genius.
that. I love that. I absolutely love that. If the rolls are halfway, people only use 2 or 3 sheets
Yeah.
versus
That's
just
right.
letting it
That's
go.
right. Cut that toilet paper down. If they don't see half of them in there, you can do it with three squares.
One of the things that is my pet peeve, I do not like waste. So I do not like buying too much, too many produce, because then if it rots, I'm upset, and so I just sort of, are there other things that you think that people can think about or to prevent, to make sure that they save money, but just by not wasting?
Yes. So I think there's like 2 tangible things. And Michelle, I need to just take a trip to your household. I need to look at these like toilet paper squares. But this is where community and accountability buddy is so important, because when you talk about going to the Costco's and the BJ's of the world, a lot of times when we buy that, it does goes to waste because a single person doesn't need such a large roll. But if you go with a buddy And it gives you an accountability to say, okay, here are the things that we're going to buy, and here's how we're going to split our costs. And then you divide it up. That's a win-win, because now all of a sudden you are pre-planning, which we know when you pre-plan your shopping list before you step into the store, you spend less. You're pre-planning with a buddy. So now there's somebody there to hold you accountable to say, well, we didn't talk about XYZ on the list. And then all of a sudden you can then split everything that you buy to reduce waste. The second thing I always advocate for people to think about is to go on a buy nothing or a get free Facebook group, where oftentimes as you get more connected to your community to say, here are things that I want to give away, and here are things that I need. Right. So you might have
almost like
extra
a barter.
care.
Yeah.
It's a barter within your community, and we were reducing waste, to your point, Sherry.
Yeah, and just so for folks that don't know, a buy nothing group, usually it's like a geographic area, ideally where you live, where people will say, I have this, do you want it for free?
Exactly.
Yeah. Carter from Westchester writes in with a hack and says, ride your bike. That's a good way to save on gas. We'd love to hear from you. 888-477-9499. Our email is studio2@whyy.org. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, drop a comment. We want to know your budget hacks. What are you doing to save money right now? There's a couple here that are related. Yvonne says, I use pay-as-you-go cell phones. Usually costs me about $10 a month. That's with data too. I only spend $30 a month on internet. Patty says,
so good.
Using Verizon is very expensive. Do you have a recommendation for a different carrier and what I should do to negotiate better terms? Are there things you should and shouldn't do when it comes to cell phone costs and internet costs, Michelle? Because sometimes I see things advertised that seem a little too good to be true, but then, I don't know, they are real carriers. They exist in the world. People use these. So maybe it's not too good to be true. Your thoughts, Michelle?
Yeah, I think when you have any carriers, you want to periodically call them and see if they have any deals. I do this all the time. And I also, y'all, I let subscriptions die. Like I let it go. And then, they calling, they just blowing up my phone like, an old boyfriend. I'm just like, hey, baby, come back. So, and when they do that, I got them. And so I mark on my calendar.
I feel so bad for the rep that has to call Michelle Singletary. Oh, Lord.
Oh, yeah. I mark in my calendar when the subscription ends, I let it in, and then I wait for the emails and the calls to come. And I tell you, I usually get the deal that I had before. Now, I did this and I lost them something, but that's all right because I'm going to get them back. And so sometimes they don't want to do it. But I tell you, 95% of the time, I'm able to reduce that monthly subscription when I let it lapse. Like a streaming service or, roadside assistance, and you can do that and just be an advocate for yourself. Be bold. Hey, listen, I paid $10 last year. Why can't I pay $10 this year? And then, then negotiate. But look at your car insurance, your life insurance, all of those, not life insurance, but your car insurance, your auto insurance, your home insurance. Make sure you're calling regularly to see, is this the best deal that I can get? Yeah. If you maybe had an accident several years ago and now that's dropped off of your credit reporter in the insurance system, now you can call them and say, hey, listen, can we renegotiate that? You've got to be your own advocate and not be so scared to call people. You'd be surprised at how many people tell me, I can't just call. What do you mean I can call? You absolutely can call.
Yeah, everything's up for negotiation. I love that point of view. We'd love to hear your money-saving hacks. The number to call is 888-477-9499. The email is studio2@whyy.org. Jai says, I started shopping at Aldi more. I typically do all my shopping at Sam's Club and Acme, so switched over to Aldi. Dave from Highbridge is on the line. Dave, you're on Studio 2. What's your money-saving hack?
Yes, how you doing? So Highbridge is kind of out in the country in northwest New Jersey, so this might not work for folks that are in the city, but probably people in the suburbs. So it's two things for food. We always look for farm stands, like little farm stands. Maybe it's somebody like one of those people that are doing their own gardening. They sell some of their stuff. So we have a guy that he's up the road from us, and he's selling vegetables really that he just grew, 30% less than what's in the supermarket, but of course it's seasonal. So, when the tomatoes come out, the tomatoes are there and like that. Right. So that's a thing. Then the other thing is farm shares.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a bunch of those around here, and they can be kind of expensive, but you can look around and find a good one. Right now it's just me and my wife, so we get a half a farm share, and they're oftentimes we can't even use all the stuff that comes in that. So we share that with our neighbors.
I love
Share
that. Share
a half share farm share.
I know.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave from Highbridge. We're coming up on a break, but I wonder. I mean, are you seeing that, Wendy and Michelle? Like people doing what I call inflation grocery shopping, where you can't just shop at the expensive grocery store anymore. You have to get certain things from certain places. Is that a real way to save money, Wendy?
Yeah, it is, and we've seen a shift on retailers. So, the person that wrote in who said I shop more at Aldi's, we have data showing that Aldi's dollar for dollar tends to be on average cheaper than competitors. And so if that's a strategy that consumers are using, but the other strategy that we see people doing is that they no longer just shop their entire grocery basket at one retailer. You might get your dairies from one retailer. You might get your fruits and vegetables from another. You might do half a farm share for your tomatoes. And this is the reality of the situation. And when we come back, we can talk about other strategies that people can do, not just looking at the expense side, but the income side as well, to try to just manage this everlasting period of time with rising prices.
Yes.
Didn't
Income
you just
side,
do a
income
good
side.
tease?
That was a great tease.
Oh my goodness.
So you'll make some more money when you take over our jobs, Wendy. And that'll be a nice side job for you on the income side. Studio2 at WHYY.org is the email address. The phone number is 888-477-9499. We're asking, what are you doing to save money? Share your favorite budget hacks with us. And don't go anywhere. This is Studio 2 on WHYY.
I bring my own lunch to work. It's either, food trucks or a deli. I'm actually saving a fair amount of money.
The ShopRite app, digital coupons for the market.
I don't buy salad dressing. I make all of my own salad dressings, and I try to sort of make big pots of soup with an entire chicken and maximize the way that I cook.
Yeah, cutting back on extracurricular activities, going out to eat or traveling, going to the shore, different things, cutting that back.
And welcome back to Studio 2 on WHYY. I'm Avi Wolfman-Arent.
And I'm Cherry Gregg. You just heard some solid ways folks in our region are saving money right now. So today on the show, with inflation rising, we're getting some realistic ways to cut costs on everything from groceries to utilities and everyday expenses.
We have two guests walking us through some great tips this hour. Michelle Singletary is the personal finance columnist at the Washington Post, and Wendy de la Rosa is assistant professor of marketing at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, listeners and viewers at home, we'd love to hear from you. What are you doing to save money? You could share your favorite budget hacks. Are you couponing? Spill your secrets. Give us a call at 888-477-9499. The email is studio2@whyy.org. And for our Facebook and YouTube streamers, you can keep those comments and tips coming in the live chat.
Let's bring in a caller. This is Liz from Philly, and I am assured by our producers this is a different Liz from Philly. So Liz from Philly, number 2. What's your budget hack?
My budget hack is to make food items myself because a lot of them can be made more cheaply. So make my own yogurt in the oven. If you think about it, a gallon of milk is about $5. You can hardly buy a quart of yogurt for that much. So that saves a lot of money. Make my own peanut butter, grind my own flours. You could use a coffee grinder for that or grain mill if you have it. And my husband bakes his own bread. So you get artisanal quality bread for pennies.
Yet again, I must insist on you sharing some with me. Thank you so much, Liz.
I know.
From Philly. That sounds really delicious and a great budget hack. So we teased this before the break, or you did, Wendy. So we're talking about expenses here and how to cut back on expenses. But there's another side of the equation, the income side. So how can you sort of hack that side of it to make your budget feel a little bit more balanced, or even, grow your budget?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because I think a lot of the callers have called in talking about how to reduce food expenditures.
Yes.
And this is something that we see in our data. When we ask people, how can you cut back? Food becomes the number one thing because it's the expenditures we make more frequently. But we still need to eat.
We do. And we want to eat healthy.
And we want to eat healthy. We want to, extend our healthy lifespan. And so I want to focus towards the income side of the house and ask ourselves, are we doing everything we can to increase the amount of money coming in? Obviously, getting a side gig, freshening up your resume, like all of the things that we put off towards tomorrow,
Yes.
right? We have to do today. Sitting down, having that uncomfortable conversation with your boss to say, I've been here for X number of years, and here's the value that I bring to the table. Is there an opportunity for a raise? But the other big piece I want us to think through is if you're in a really tight financial situation where you're struggling to make ends meet, maybe it's time for you to think through, how many government benefit programs am I eligible for? For example, like PECO has suggested that they're going to raise electricity prices by 12% in the next year. There's this amazing program called WHYY that helps people pay their utility bills. It's extremely underutilized. Roughly about 50% of people who are eligible don't use it, right? And so that is another way of thinking broadly about your income coming in.
Yeah.
And it's such a web of programs and benefits. Sometimes it's hard to know
what's available.
What you're eligible for. Is there a systematic way to do that? You just kind of have to cast a wide net. I mean, do you have any advice there, Wendy?
There is. There's an amazing organization called Campaign for Working Families in Philadelphia. Their whole job is to look at your financial situation and let you know what eligible resources you're eligible for, whether it's LIHEAP, whether it's SNAP, whether it's all different types of tax credits. Like, that's what they're there for. But there's also benefits.gov where you can go through and just see what is something that you're eligible for.
I love that. By the way, Eileen says, I had a PECO energy audit. My basement dehumidifier was targeted as an energy hog, and they recommended running a fan on low using substantially less energy. I do that now. The dehumidifier kicks on much less. Also, hang out your laundry to dry. So just by that, doing that one thing, she saved some money. So Michelle, I want to bring you back into the conversation. What are some hacks that you've heard I had no idea you could do a energy audit like that, but are there some simple things that people could do that are like low hanging fruit that could save them some cash?
Well, let's take for driving, for example. I don't know about you, but lots of people have so much stuff in their car. So just reducing the weight of your car could help you save on some gas mileage. You know them speed demons out there, and you know who you are. You in the car right now, slow down. That will help save some gas. And so, some of us don't have a green thumb. Like, I haven't seen a plant alive that I can't kill. So I'm not gardening. I'm not hanging no clothes outside. However, one of the things I do is I don't buy a lot of clothes, and you don't have to actually wash your clothes as often as you think. First, I take a shower, then you don't have to be washing your clothes so much.
You can wear those pants a couple times. You can wear those pants.
Michelle is speaking my language right now.
Get some little spray and freshen up them pants.
Yeah.
We every time we wear something, we just throw it in the laundry automatically, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not clean. In fact, at the Washington Post, we've been running a number of columns. We had a column not too long ago about how we wash our jeans too much. And so I just try to look at some ways. If I'm not gifted in a certain area, I'm just not a gardener. I'm not going outside. There are bugs. I'm going to go to the grocery store and get my vegetables. But I look for things that are seasonal and by sales, if it's less expensive.
Absolutely.
So I tailor the meals to whatever is available that may be less. Like one time I went to the grocery store, they had a big bag of potatoes for a couple of bucks. And one thing, shop in your house before you go to the grocery store. How many times do we go and come home and we realize we already have it at the house? Now, I know there's a lot of controversy about using AI, but last night I had some meat in there and I was thinking, I don't really want anything. I went in there and found something, and then I typed in there the ingredients that I had, and it came up with a little recipe for me to make. Yeah. And it was great. I didn't go to the grocery store. I used what was in the house, and everybody loved it. And so these are little things, like go through your pantry and just put in the items and say, hey, what kind of meal can I make by this can of beans that I've had for 6 months?
Yeah.
And so that you can not continually going to the store, reduce the frequencies. Those things add up. It's not going to make you a millionaire, but it will put you in the posture to be watching your dollars. And at this time in the economy, you have to have that mental thing to say, what can I do to reduce the amount of money wherever my gifting is? If it's gardening, that's great. If it's not, okay, how do I spend less if I do have to go to the grocery
And I like the idea. I've started being real strict on my list because I find that it makes me be more mindful, and I tend to stick to my budget more if I have a list going into the grocery store versus just putting stuff.
And don't shop hungry.
Don't
shop hungry. I want to read a few more comments. John says, I can't help but to think the real hack is to demand things like a progressive tax structure, wealth tax, closing tax loopholes, etc. None of us should be trying to skimp on toilet paper when billionaires exist. Ellen says, generic medications. Pam says, just stop buying red meat. Buy tofu for protein. It's only $2.25 for a brick of tofu, and you can make amazing recipes with it, like tofu enchiladas. And I'm not even a vegetarian, says Pam. Mm-hmm. And one more comment. I like this one from Fred. If I had spare time in class, I would show my students how much a $5 cup of coffee really costs if it's put on a credit card and the balance is not paid off during their working years at current credit card interest rates of 15%. It is $2,693.85. So Fred's trying to scare folks into saving money. So we are talking a little bit about these little things that we can do to chip away at our expenses and maybe also just give us a sense of control. But let's at least for a moment step back and talk about like some of the big, line items. Like, look, should we be having conversations about where we live, how much we pay for our housing? And you mentioned, how much we make in our job, and can we expand that? Like, how do you start, Wendy, to approach those big items? Because ultimately, I think changing the equation on those, it's what's going to really change your overall budget situation, right?
Of course. And a lot of, like you mentioned, so much of what we've been talking about helps on the margins, right? Yeah. Please, everybody, wash your underwear. But, extending your jeans to cover.
Underwear and socks.
I didn't say underwear, Neil.
Let's clarify. Let's clarify.
We wanted clarity there.
We just want to underscore, we don't want to be that kind of musty. But that helps on the margins. On the margins, right?
Exactly.
When we think about sort of the three big budget items, is your housing, is your car, and it's your debt.
Yep.
And so when we ask about housing, one of the big questions that is really uncomfortable but that needs to be had at the family level is, can we truly afford to live here?
Yeah.
And is this the time to either move, not renew our lease, or think about downsizing our house? Another way to
That's such a tough conversation to have, though. People are so attached to where they live.
Yeah, they really
People are so attached to where they live, but if you're constantly skimping on toilet paper and just not living a true life, then what life are you living in a big, nice house? The second thing I would ask people to think about is, if you have an extra room, is this the right time to ask yourself, can I have a roommate? For two reasons. There's this company called Silver Nest that pairs slightly older folks together. And it has a win-win. one, you get reduced rent. If you're the homeowner, you get extra income. But we know that one of the biggest predictors of longevity is the number of daily meaningful interactions you have with another person.
Companionship, yeah.
And we have a loneliness epidemic. So many people
get a good one, a good roommate.
Exactly. But you get to interview people, you get to drive the process. And so I want people to think about holistically their happiness and say, how can I just bring people into my community? And if you have an extra room, you can solve for community and you can solve for your income.
That's interesting.
And I want to read this because Will DM'd me and he says, I stopped dating to save money.
Stopped
Men
what?
dating. And he says, men spend a lot in that lane, way more than women would ever imagine. And Michelle, I wanted to get your thoughts about this because Wendy just talked about, you got to think about your overall happiness in life. I mean, is there a moment where how do you figure out, you want to cut your budget, but I mean, Will is cutting out dating altogether to save money.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I think that is a little extreme. If you want to date. Just say to the person, male or female or whatever, hey, baby, I don't have a lot of money. Can we do this? I mean, I married a cheap man, and I'm so happy. I am so blessed because I tell people all the time, cheap is sexy.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and when we were first dating, he said that to me. He said, listen, we don't make a lot of money. I can't really carry us in the state. How about we, split or don't go as many places? And initially I was like, a little funky about that. I was like, you were absolutely right. And I love that he had that conversation with me. And so then we did. We didn't do a whole lot of expensive stuff. We didn't go to concerts and things like that. And we have been married this year 35 years. So get you a cheap person, get you a cheap man, cheap woman, and you save yourself a lot of money. So I would just say, find someone who is of like-minded with you in terms of finances, and you can have a great relationship.
That's good advice.
Yeah, that's good advice.
We didn't know we were doing relationship advice today, but it turns out we are. That's good relationship advice. Let me read some more comments from our listeners. Some good ones here. Ellen says, keep the thermostat as close as you can to 50 in cold weather, the recommended temperature to keep pipes from freezing. Wear snow pants, use electric blankets. For some people, I know people that live that way and they're very happy. David from Upper Darby says, if you're over 65, get a SEPTA pass. It's free. Just walk over to 12th and Market. It's unbelievable. Jeff from Wissahickon says, bulk buying is great as long as you're smart about it. Don't buy in bulk if it goes bad. And Jason, on this topic of food again, we joined our local food co-op as working members and get a substantial discount on groceries, which really adds up easily $100 to $200 a month for the family. So if you're not familiar with like a co-op style grocery store, if you volunteer some service, typically you'll get discounts on what you buy there. We're getting toward the end of this here. Just a minute left. Wendy, one thing, if you could just impress upon people, one thing to remember as they go off on their budgeting journey. Go ahead.
Change your environment. Change your environment. That you can't just go lackadaisical across your life and think that spending less is just going to happen. Delete the Uber Eats app, delete the DoorDash app, change where you grocery shop. Delete all the temptations from your life. Change your environment so that you can reach your financial goals.
Michelle, real quick, 15, 20 seconds, piece of advice.
Yeah, I would say be careful about when you think you're saving money. Remember that you never save when you spend. And I think if you keep that in mind, you won't be chasing sales. You'll just stay your behind home and have a nice time without spending a lot of money.
Boy, I should not have enjoyed this show as much as I did. It's because of our guests, Michelle Singletary, personal finance columnist at the Washington Post. Thanks as always, Michelle.
You're welcome.
And equal thanks to Wendy De La Rosa, assistant professor of marketing at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. Thank you so much, Wendy.
Thank you for having me.
And now it is time to reveal our Studio 2 DJ of the Day song selection. Lots of great creative suggestions today. But today, we're going to mash it up. Hit it, Al. Can you pay my bills? Can you pay my telephone bills? Can you pay my automobile bills? If you do, then maybe we can chill. I don't think you do. So you
All right. That is, you guys know that one. That's Bills, Bills, Bills. We first heard the cover version by They Might Be Giants from 2016, and then we faded it expertly into the classic original from Destiny's Child from 1999. Bills, Bills, Bills was the first of now 13 hits sung by Beyonce, that went to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100.
And was one of my personal favorites. That was my time.
And that's
right
why
there.
she doesn't need the budget, by the way, because she's got 13 #1s.
Shout out to Andrew P. from Bethlehem for being our DJ of the day. And got to shout out our producers, Debbie Builder, Hazel May Bryan, and Paige Murray Bessler. Mike Schiffler is our visual producer. Al Banks and Tina Calicay engineered today's show. Our executive producer is Kevin McCory. Joan Isabella is WHYY's audio general manager. From Studio 2 here at WHYY, I'm Cherry Gregg.
And I'm Avi Wolfman-Aaron. Thanks. We'll talk to you next week.
Tomorrow at noon, it's The Connection with Marty Moscowane, and she'll be in with a prescription for laughter. She'll talk with a stand-up comedian about how humor connects us and helps us weather dark times.
And then on Monday, Cherry and I are back with another hour of Studio 2, this time talking about independent voters. Ahead of the Pennsylvania primaries on Tuesday, we're talking about the people who are locked out of casting a ballot. Should we open primaries to all voters? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Up next on WHYY, before all of that, it's Here and Now.